Hey there, Social 20-1 here. Going to take a look at our first source of the week. This will be our last set of sources for the year. We're going to go after disease eradication in this source, so I'll give you a few seconds to examine the source, then I'll pick it apart with you. Well, okay. I want to finish the course on an up note. I want to talk about the good things that can come from internationalism. Um, so I thought we'd look at disease eradication in this source and probably at least one more this week. I like this one. Uh, as we learned, guinea worm is a horrible, debilitating worm. And so, eradicating guinea worm. So you're going to talk at this point about how debilitating the disease is. Like what is it about guinea worm that makes it such a global problem? Like why should this be a global initiative to stop the spread of guinea worm? I mean, after all, there are all kinds of diseases that can harm you and kill you. Why go after guinea worm? Well, you talk about how the cause is from contaminated water. And then you would talk about the effects of guinea worm on people, how it's an excruciating pain. You can't focus on anything. You can't go to school. You can't go to work. You're basically unproductive for months or even years on end as the worm, works its course through your body. And the quote says that the solution to eradicating guinea worm is actually quite simple. Filtering water, something that we take for granted every single day. I mean, you go turn your tap on right now, probably the last thing you're thinking about is that water contaminated? Well, of course it's not. It's filtered. You live in a developed country. And so the Carter Center for years has been distributing millions of water filters. And in the end, the solution is simple: filter water. And so they're giving out millions of water filters to end guinea worm as a disease that afflicts people in developing countries. I make special note of the Carter Center as the group that is doing this. This is important. Jimmy Carter, former American president, started the Carter Center. It is a really good example of a non-governmental organization. This is an NGO. This is not the UN. This is not the WHO. I wouldn't call it a small, but this is an individual persons driven organization to go after an issue and fix the problem. The Carter Center, non-government organization. And they talk about how the end to the disease of guinea worm is not going to come from vaccine. You don't need drugs. It's completely preventable. Just filter your water. I guess if there were a problem, it's going to cost money. So you're going to have to raise money to do this, and that's where the Carter Center came in. They began this in the mid 1980s when there were millions of cases in over 20 countries. They raised money, they invested money, through nonprofit, and by 2014, there are just 126 cases. Meaning that, given it went from 3.5 million to 126, we will soon eradicate guinea worm. And Jimmy Carter may just get his final wish after all. So there's not a whole lot of reading between the lines in this source, but there are things that you will need to expand on. Talk about why it's a global issue, what the Carter Center actually is, a non-government organization, and how simple the solution to this disease really, really is. And it makes you wonder, if you can solve this disease through the simple thing of a water filter, what else could we do to combat global disease when the solution is probably way more simple than we think it is? In terms of your links, well, I see a really good example of foreign aid. I mean, after all, what the Carter Center is doing is giving foreign aid in the form of water filtration. makes you think about foreign policy. But I for sure see it as an example of an international organization, in this case, a non-government organization, and how much good they've done without needing great big government support, without needing the UN behind it, without needing the WHO behind it. So I see two direct links between foreign aid, a very successful foreign aid, and the role of international organizations, in this case, non-governmental organizations. And the source is really promoting internationalism as a means of ending diseases like this. I also see that the source strongly motivated by humanitarianism. And the Carter Center is not going to gain any money. They're not going to gain anything material through eradicating guinea worm, but they're doing it because it's the right thing to do. They're motivated by humanitarianism. Why wouldn't we do this to help people that need our help and maybe aren't in a position to help themselves? I really like that. Um, in terms of its scope, I see probably this would be, it seems pretty unilateral to me. It's the Jimmy Carter Center doing this, and that's fine, a unilateral combating of a disease. Finally, in terms of your perspective, I clearly see, that source is promoting internationalism. That source is saying, look, if this one agency can do all this, imagine multiple agencies combating global problems, whatever they may be. So there's no irony to it. There's no satire to it. I don't see a criticism of anything beyond just out and out support of internationalism, helping people that need help, making the world a better place. Good job with that. Like I said, I want to end the sources this week on the upswing. Thanks for listening.